I'm standing under this amazing sign that says, "Fear of God, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." And I thought, well, what to me is the beginning of wisdom? And we're at DNA, we're experimenting with this, or like getting to know how to direct and lead with emotions. And I think one of the roads to wisdom is also identifying how you feel. And at this moment, I feel both nervous. There's a lot of you. And a little bit sort of nervous also that I remember all the words in English, since it's not my daily work language, but also very excited to be here. All right, so I'm here to tell you about what it takes to change company culture. I don't have all the answers, but I thought I'd give you some of the sort of taste bits of what I've been doing over the years. So my name is, hello, my name is Ulla Jones. I work as a customer experience lead at DNA, which is one of the 3 Finnish big telco companies. We consider ourselves to be the challenger of the market. Well, again, there's a Twitter wall and everything, and I'm quite lazy on Twitter, but at the same time I promise to continue a conversation there as well, but also on LinkedIn if you want to connect later. So just a few words about the company I work for. This year we were voted or discovered as the great place to work, the best place to work in Finland in the big company category. Our lovely competitor, Elisa, won the title last year, so telco companies in general are doing a really good job in this. But I also wanted to sort of take a little collage here about the way we work. It's very sort of flexible. It's about wherever you feel creative, wherever it's convenient for you to work at a very moment. That's your place to be. And this picture of these 4 locations is actually me and my team, my leadership team that I'm part of. We were sort of sharing pictures one morning where all 4 of us were. My job at DNA is, and I've given it a lot of thought, is like, what is the ultimate thing that I'm there to do? What is the thing that gets me up in the morning? And it is to activate the other side of the brain, the one that feels emotions, the one that sort of brings out your human qualities. It's not just by fluke that I wanted to share how I feel this morning and sort of express a little bit of vulnerability as well, because that is what being a human being is all about. And I feel that in very many organizations, we often sort of hide behind the curtain of expertise. We speak from the position of learning knowledge, of looking backwards, and at the same time, what I want to bring into the mix is that you don't just work with your thumb tied or just with your 4 fingers or with your one hand behind your back. You need your both hands, you need all your fingers and so forth, and therefore you need both sides of your brain to be a full human being also at work. So, customer-centric. Why companies should be customer-centric? And the question is often like, that's what you need to think about. The things I often hear is well, we aren't already. We are. Like, we produce things for our customers, so therefore we must be customer-centric. This is a true story. This is an actual thing I've heard from a person in leadership position. Or customers are mentioned in our strategy. Therefore, we are customer-centric. Well, crossing your fingers and hoping for the best won't make it happen. And that's the honest truth about it. And they often say that change will only happen in a moment of crisis or in a moment of great vision. And of course, in general, we hope that no company ends up in a moment of crisis. However, more often than not, that's what happens. And the great vision, of course, is needed to take something to a next level. And that's why I wanted to sort of also focus on how it could be done and how it's done in the few companies that I've worked for. But first of all, Decide why do you want to be customer-centric. Is it for differentiation? Is it to expand your market share? Is it for customer retention? Is it to be able to raise your prices and so forth? And be honest about it, because I mean, you don't need to share this to the whole world, but at the same time, within the company, you need a direction. You need you need a guiding star, and these are one of the main things in your strategies. Why are you focusing on customer centricity? And then know where you are. And it's because it's in those moments of crisis or vision, it's the sink or swim moment, it's the fight or flight moment, or it's to bulk or differentiate. And that's where I'm getting to the sort of sharing experiences from my work life, is that I'm in my third company where sort of a design transformation is happening. And the sort of a funny thing that I've now sort of looked back in my sort of a career, and what connects all three very different company cultures and basically areas of business, is that each one of them is considering how to have that relationship with a customer, with a consumer, with the fear of falling into just a bulk provider. Whether it is, as I worked at Arla before I went to OP, with milk, or with money, or with connections. And this image is, and I should be very careful about this image, because there is both someone from Arla here today. I'm actually Tyttilotta, I'm pointing you out just so that if someone wants to talk to her about more how they're doing it at Arla, she's working for Arla Global. And then there's Tuomas Manninen, my former boss from OP, and then again here in the middle. And so also, again, challenging me with the words and so forth. But when I was looking back, I thought that there's an interesting sort of a connection with these companies, but also there's a lot of differences. And it depends where you are and how you want to, words you want to use to actually sort of get things going. And I'm going to turn this way around a little bit so that I remember all the words properly. But at Arla, the customer centricity was brought into the marketing and innovation department, mostly to create new innovation, to fill the pipeline in the beginning. And one of the terms that we were bringing in was co-creation. At OP Financial Group, the design team was part of the research and development organization, where customer experience was the thing that we were after and we were trying to improve. And we were talking about design and design thinking. At DNA, my team that I lead is a brand development team. We're a corporate level team, and we talk of brand. At DNA, we consider brand to be both the storytelling side, but also the actionable side of brand. So not just the messaging, the graphic guidelines and so forth. It's more of a holistic way of that every touch point customer has with the brand is part of the brand. But also, it's sort of interesting is like, where do you start then? At Arla, we started with product development and brand managers. And then again, at OP, we started with product development, but very quickly moved on to business leaders. And then again, at DNA, the business units are our main focus area, but as well the customer service, as well as IT and technology. What I've also learned over this my journey is that design thinking happens in different areas. And this is again something that, I mean, might be really obvious, but to me at least, it sort of dawned while I was sort of thinking, is like, I was part of an OP's design team, and I was working in R&D. I was a business designer, and I was tasked in finding more sort of a new business areas, new opportunities for a company. Moving on to DNA, I realized that somehow my approach just doesn't work the same way. I I was using the wrong tools in a way, and over the 4 months that I've now been at DNA, I've realized that at DNA, my team's job is to improve the current customer experience. More than sort of innovate and bring out new ideas into the table for the new business areas. And it's just, again, know where you are within a company structure is sort of giving you the tools how you need to tackle the challenge. And so I thought I'd give you sort of a few examples from Arla, how it was done. Again, I can't take most of the credit of this. It's Tytti Lotta over there in the audience who will tell you more about it. But there are some interesting examples of how it was done and how it really worked. Is that we introduced this sort of a 2-day, 3-day boot camp, Arla Idea, where we were co-creating new product ideas with our customers. These are pictures from the 2-day innovation bootcamp where we would go to people's homes, interview them in in-depth interviews, go to the grocery stores with them, have them come over to test our prototypes. And one of the things that was very important, again, was that it wasn't done within a design team. There wasn't a design team at Arla at the time. It was done by the innovation managers, the product, or the brand managers together, because that was the way for them to get the connection with the customers. And what was interesting about these things was that some of the very early prototypes that we did were very rough with cardboards and so forth. They ended up in real prototyping in some grocery stores. We tried out the processes that led, for example, for the first time, milk products being displayed in meat shelves. That might sound small, but for the grocery scene, it's huge. And at the same time, for me, one of the things that we would really get out of this was that we even had our sales personnel joining some of the ideation sessions and meeting with the customers. And that was one of the winning moments for me, Tytti Lotta, when one of our sales directors was using customer's voice, customer quote in sales pitch to one of our biggest retail chains. And it's just that you can't quite direct how these things are when you plant the seed, how it goes forward. But at the same time, these things will grow and prosper in many different ways. So at OP, many of you, the Finnish audience has heard the OP story many times, so I won't dwell in too much detail about it, but at the same time, I wanted to sort of, with few photos, just share what at OP we were doing. And the thing is that the role of an in-house designer is twofold. At the same time, you take part in projects, and you take care of, or you participate in the internal transformation. And that's just how it is, and it's sort of an interesting, we have a group of in-house designers who gathered a few times a year, and it's one of those issues that we sort of discover that we have in common. So the left-hand side picture on the top is meeting with a customer or potential customer at their home, trying to understand their moving habits, for example. And for me, I find that one of the biggest roles of designer in a company setting is to make invisible visible, make the words basically seen one way or another. And in this case, we were trying to determine her how many times or in what occasions she has moved and for what reason. And interestingly enough, she's about 25-year-old lady, and you can see the long line, so it turns out she's a serial mover. And this is something that might not have occurred to us if we hadn't asked her to draw the sort of a timeline of all her moves. And these are the sort of like just the little things in which you bring the customer centricity into your company little by little, and showing these to the business decision makers and so forth. And most hopefully, if you can take them with you, that's where the magic starts happening. And then, of course, the classic thing of like no designer my dad, he's an architect, and he used to say, an architect without a pen is like a cloudy day. A designer without a post-it is same way, I suppose, that like a cloudy day. So yes, we do use them too. And also internal development. At OP, we were very strong on also, and one of our focus was to advance the design thinking within Finland as well. OP has a role, sort of a responsible role in Finland, also to whatever we do, we try to make it have the sort of a whole community benefit from it. We were also arranging muotoilupäivä. This is a design day that were run twice a year. The videos from the design days can be found on YouTube, and so that was one way of transforming the company and their thinking. And then there was all kinds of communal events, and I mean there was 90 designers. That's a huge compared to the team that we currently have at DNA, for example. So going to DNA, sorry, I realized that I can't turn my head too much so that you can actually sort of see. The things about DNA that work for any company is that you need a spokesperson. The top left corner picture is of my boss, Kati Sulin, who is the CDO of the company and a very sort of a pioneer in much of a digital communications. And she's the sort of a spearhead for my team to exist in the company, and for her to be speaking of our things is just perfect. We also run weekly a design clinic, which is an event where for 3 hours our internal designers offer a design sparring for anyone who has a question on design and on their own project. For example, how would I now find customer insight on my project, and we went together in a clinic setting, figure it out. There's also a picture of us celebrating a moment, which was that the first stage of the clinic was over, and we've now completely integrated the clinic into our own ways of working. Until yesterday, we had a partner joining us for 1 day a week. So again, in a way, it's a milestone that the work is now integrated completely into our own doing. There are a few things, again, Matthias was talking about how a internal designer needs to be both sort of looking at the sort of a broader picture and sort of really diving deep into an integrity, and the lower left corner there's of our new device, and one needs to visit those places, one needs to do mystery shopping to sort of understand what's working, what doesn't work, and so forth. So there's this. I thought that through running through all these sort of 3 examples, I would sort of there's my sort of a top 5 things for reaching the frosty middle. In the companies, very often, I mean, this is you might have sort of if you think of half defrosted lasagna, how it's soft on the top and soft in the bottom, because those are like the top management is buying the idea, and the bottom people who are doers are sort of ready to be doing it, but the middle one is like, yeah, but what about the KPIs and so forth? And so my thoughts for sort of defrosting the frosty middle is basically just taking them with you into the development work. So courage to meet the customers is the number 1 there, and ability to listen and interpret is the second one. Never ever have them start with the interviewing. Have them first just listening, because it's very hard for them to shed that hat of a salesperson or a business manager, and they will start asking questions that will take the open-ended conversation into a wrong direction. Then ability to clear understanding of the method and its benefits leads for them to wanting more of the similar thing. Ability to apply the methods in the practice and to purchase, to be better purchasers, not just buying projects that end up in a drawer, but to actually sort of know what you're getting. And then only then there's desire to learn more, in my opinion. So very much of a basic things. But sometimes it feels like this. And Change doesn't happen overnight. I'm going to flip through this one just to point out this was something that we did during OP. We used this Danish Design Center's maturity model. Know where you are on this ladder and work within those parameters, because at the same time, if you're trying to do stuff that is too advanced, you'll just end up feeling like me in the previous picture. And it is a ripple effect. You drop something in the water and we'll see what happens from there. You can't always control. You can control what you're putting out, but you can't control what happens afterwards. And so I thought I'd finish with the wise words from Alia. If at work first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and just try again. Thank you.